kicking, never quitting. Focus sharp like a blade that's hitting. From white belt dreams to the master flow, Paul Coffey's got the mic, now the stories grow. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic, where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Keep Kicking, martial arts podcast where I have martial conversations with my martial arts friends. Today, I sit down with Desmond, and we're not going to have the normal podcast interaction because Desmond has been on Whistlekick Radio, so I'm doing what I do, and I'm stealing from them. His episode will be in the show notes if you all would like to see that episode. Then also, Desmond, would you like to introduce yourself to the people and maybe give them like a 2 to 3-ish about your background?
Sure. Like I said, I'm Desmond Diaz, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Now reside in Seattle, Washington. I've been practicing martial arts for over 30 years. I practice Pan American Goju Karate, which are offshoot Goju Ryu Karate. I coach for the U.S. martial arts team in Seattle and Florida, and I also have dojos, the Lone Wolf Dojo in Seattle as well as in Claremont, Florida.
You are spread out, brother.
A little bit.
You are spread out. How does one manage schools across the nation, literally?
I'll let you know when I figure that part out.
That's a really good answer. I mean, I assume you spend a lot of travel time.
Yes. And a lot of time people go, well, how do you sleep? But I go usually on the plane and,
Nice.
And I do as best as I can.
Right. Well, you have to have a couple really good senior students that you trust.
Yeah.
As part of it, right?
And what's nice is I've had some students over the 30 years. Some of them, maybe they stopped when they were brown belt, black belt, always kept training. Even not too long ago, I was testing one of my students in Florida for his green belt. And I brought in one of my old students who hadn't practiced in about 10 years. He told me admittedly. And he said, I was reluctant to tell you that because I didn't want you to kill me. I said, well, we'll see what happens when you get in the ring with this new guy. It's either I'm fighting one of you or I'm fighting the both of you. And he did extremely well. And I was like, whoa. He's like, yeah, you kind of beat it into me, so it's never leaving my body. So I think I'm good in that regard. And I was like, fair enough. He was talking to my new student about the things that I used to make them do when I was a little bit more difficult to deal with. And my new students just kind of looked at me in horror and like, whoa, what kind of person are you? I'm like, well, it was a different time. Laws were different then. Laws were different. I may have had them work a little differently than I would now, but
Sure.
you know,
Anybody that has only done martial arts for 10 years or less has a very just egregious disservice to not being able to experience what martial arts was in the 90s and early 2000s.
for sure. And I got to hear it from all the masters that said, you know nothing about what it's like in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And they proceeded to show me what it was like in their
Yes.
and I endured it. I wanted more. I understood it. Even for my students, I always tell them two things. One, I will never make you do anything I've never done.
Mhm.
And two, my goal in life is that every stage of the ranking system, I need you to be better than I was at that stage.
That's a great goal.
So I want you to work and feel and suffer. I will suffer with you. There was a period of time where I did boxing and CrossFit at the same time. I made my students go with me. And so we would train and then go to the gyms and do those things. And I said, you suffer, I suffer. We suffer together. We're going to have this struggle bus moment together. And you're going
That's
to,
we're stones sharpening stones. So
yeah.
it's good. I
So that was
appreciate
fun.
that.
Yeah.
I also appreciate that maintaining the student mentality. That is
Mhm.
something that has come up a lot in conversation. So and I want to ask you about that. We're going to talk about that, but first we're going to start with the loaded questions that usually most people get at the end.
Okay.
But because your history has already been recorded
Yeah.
for a podcast and I don't have to do that, the question starts with an omission. I've been doing martial arts for 32 years, and I recognize as a lifelong practitioner of martial arts, I'm equal parts sadistic and masochistic, and I'm in the minority, but that's me as a person. Also,
Sure.
probably you as a person. I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you teach non-violent individuals how to speak the language of violence when it's needed?
Hmm. Um, I mix in a lot of present day information with practical common sense. And I have people, there's a lot of generation that I work with that is very reluctant to seek conflict or to meet conflict where it is, whether you're trying to de-escalate or otherwise they'll just simply give you.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to remind them that sometimes these things are unavoidable. Just because you do not like it doesn't mean it won't come to you. And there is a wise prophet of our era, goes by the name of Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, that says, I never want a problem. But if you got a problem, no problem. And so that's what I said, fighting is ugly. Fighting isn't cute. It's not what you see on the movies. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's ugly, it's vicious, and it's brief, depending on what you're trying to get out of that situation. And I want to prepare you to handle that pressure as best as you can and get home safe. At the end of the day, the priority is to get home to your family, get home to and your loved ones. And you have to remind yourself, regardless of whether you like it or not,
Mm-hmm.
that's your goal. So do what you have to do to get there.
It's a great answer. I love it. I think that it's been an interesting question to pose to a lot of different people because you get a lot of different answers. But the common thread that I've seen has been getting people to a mental state where they are aware you just got to do it sometimes. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the common thread. I have interviewed people that say that they go to their students and they say, I am giving you permission to hurt somebody if they're about to hurt you.
Yeah.
I'm giving you permission. I think that's an interesting way to frame it. But framing it up in a way that the student digests it is definitely very, very much part of the equation
Yeah.
for sure.
I would say a lot of times people are fearful of immediate consequence, especially when it comes in training. The thing I hear a lot is, I don't want to hurt you. And
Mm-hmm.
I've had in the past, even a firefighter, student of mine, I was teaching him punches just to throw the technique, and I would stand in front of him and say, throw it to hit me. And he would always pull it, just close. I'm like, no, no, you hit me. It's my job to get out the way. If I don't get out the way, my fault. I got to learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I kept pushing him and he was still reluctant, still reluctant. So I said, all right, I'm going to step back. So it gives you full extension. But then when he threw the punch, I stepped in.
Mm.
He was like, oh my God. And I took it and I was like, okay, so like do that again. And he looked a little confused. And I said, at this stage of your career, I'm not concerned about your level of power. in your technique. So
Right.
just do your thing.
Right.
When you get better, I will move.
Right. Just a beginner. You're like, I promise I've been hit hard.
Yeah, like I am not remotely concerned about it, even though, we always say too much dangerous belts are white and black because
Well,
unpredictability,
yes.
and then you
Yes.
have skill. But, in that regard and under that circumstance, I remember I heard something from a funny master one day. He said, the fun thing about the dojo, it's the only place you can die and come back to life. And I keep that written somewhere in my house at all times, and I tell people that all the time. I was like, what's so nice? You're not going to die here. So do whatever you need to.
Do you know what that reminds me of is the quote from the Hakakura that you should put yourself to death before you put yourself to bed every night. Because the word death, we Westerners are like, you mean I gotta die every night? No, no. But just making yourself prepared for and aware of that possibility. That's a great quote. Tell me why you teach.
That's an interesting question, because when I first started, I had zero interest in teaching, and I found that my job outside of martial arts involves working with people, and I find at the end of the day, I don't like people. But there is something about having a body of knowledge that you find useful in society and in life and wanting to pass it on. There is something to be said to pass it on your family, but sometimes family doesn't care. So you finding people who seek you out and are genuinely interested in bettering themselves physically, mentally, however their path to enlightenment takes them right to your door. And there's a connection you get in that shared suffering and education. And that dynamic is it's an interesting way to build friends and build connections. And you enter this little world where it's just, only you and I understand, or you and your students understand. And there's something there that's just really exciting about that. And I really appreciate everything like the martial arts world has given me. So I would be foolish to not give it back and help somebody else out.
I have taken to quoting instructor friend of mine who said, we will never be able to give back to martial arts what martial arts has given to us, but we can try.
Absolutely. 100%.
How has teaching informed your martial arts practice?
I've been very fortunate enough to teach at some interesting levels, like at the international level with the U.S. martial arts team, on a local level, with the local sports karate team that I work with here, my students, different developmental stages for people. And it's helped me really refine my own technique, because I'm a firm believer, if I cannot break this down to a toddler, how well do I really know?
Right.
And it also makes you strip away a lot of pretense, because the biggest question that some masters hate is why. But I like that question, because I don't necessarily take it as a challenge. I take it as I should know. I should understand this technique. Or if I don't, well, let me go find the answer. So teaching it and seeing people where they're at and meeting them at a level that helps them understand and grow, teaching has done that tremendously. I used to have such a horrible fear of public speaking as a kid. And my instructor used to go, "Hey, do me a favor, warm up the class for 5 minutes." And this is when I was like a green belt, and I know like 3 stretches. And I'm like, "Oh God, how long is this clock gonna last?" Kind of thing. Then it's 10 minutes, then it's 15 minutes. Then it's, "Hey, take this group over here and teach them this technique. Hey, teach them this form over here. Hey, I need you to cover this class on this day. Hey, I need you to cover Saturday. Hey, I'm going to be out of town. Can you cover the day?" And, over a period of years. So, I've become more confident being able to speak in public and convey ideas and thoughts, and really force me to relook at how I approach technique and how I approach movement, and then making sure I can disseminate it for people behind me.
Okay. Let's talk about your specific art. I have only had experience with Shori Goju-ryu in the Goju-ryu families. I don't know if your lineage, if your lineage comes from there or whatever. Tell me a little bit about.
Sure. Pan American Goju was started by
Mhm,
two people, my instructor, Armando Colburn Sr., and his instructor at the time, Sinclair Thorne. They both were
mhm.
students at one point under Peter Urban for USA Goju.
Okay.
And their instructors, alongside Peter Urban, kind of helped them create this system that was unique, that expressed their own heritage.
Mhm,
And that's the system that I learned from USA Goju, Pan American Goju. And then as I started to go and grow, I started to pick up some training in Okinawan Goju-Ryu, Goju
mhm,
Kai, Judo, and I started to incorporate those things back into the system for my version of Pan American Goju. So everything I went and learned, like with the Okinawan Goju and Dio GKF styles, I would come back and bring and say, hey guys, this is also
yeah,
stuff that's part of us, because I'm a big fan of, if this is what we learn, is there a root form or where these things came from? I want to pick that up too, because then it's like a nice comparative study of what came before and what we're doing now.
mhm,
And I try to give my students both sides of it so they could see, this is one person taking this knowledge and going this route, and this is where it came from.
mhm. What is most interesting about what you just said, because I am a nerd, is that they changed it to represent their culture. And man, that's not talked about nearly enough.
Yes.
But like each martial arts style is a culture catalog in itself. What did they do specifically to represent their culture?
That's pretty good question too. I know, they had incorporated several arts. Some of them had taken. I think my grandmaster Hanshi Thorne had taken kung fu as well,
Mhm,
and my instructor had taken taekwondo prior. They've brought those elements, kicking and certain techniques in. There are certain weapons using the machete and a bolas was common in Panama, and we have elements of that in our weapons techniques. And some of how they operate, even just from the household setting. Like, our dojo is not a very militant dojo,
mhm,
even though
mhm.
all of us are very militant in that regard. We all treat it very harshly, but it's all love. When I tell
Okay.
people to go there, I usually make my students go visit my instructor for a week at some point, because
Nice.
I'm like, it's rough to just hear it from me. You need the nice part. You need the love. You need the support, the
Yeah.
hugs. You need all of that sometimes, and go over. You're gonna get good training, but you're also gonna get supported well in a very
Mhm.
family oriented environment, which I am not that person.
At least being aware of the fact that you're not that.
For sure. Like, coming from a system where the majority of the black belts are military personnel, and I'm probably one of the
Mm,
few that are non-military. It's intimidating. You come in there and everybody is either like Marines or Army, Air Force, whatever, and you're just like, hey, don't stab me, like, I'll be fine. But they're very intense. They love to fight. Some groups in our organization are more fighter oriented. Uh,
mhm,
for as a source of pride for my instructor, I wanted to make sure I was good at both, because our grandmasters guys, they can fight
mhm.
and they can do forms, but there's got that rivalry. I gotta, whoever your
Right,
best guy is, you come to me. Let's go.
right.
Let's fight it out. And I want to have that respect across all the
Mhm,
groups. So it's really fun. To that end, we usually have a black belt training camp once a year for 3 days. All the instructors come in, they teach us some new things. We fight, we do self defense stuff, we do kata tournaments, and just kind of have a good fellowship time where we torture ourselves. Uh, I mean, we do like 100 jumping jacks per black belt at the start of
okay,
every day. And
okay.
we've had up to 30 or 40 black belts there. So it's a long morning.
It's a lot of jumping jacks.
Yeah, that's about 2.5, 3 hours worth of jumping jack straight before you start doing anything else. And to those who've been there, they can tell you that they wouldn't have never experienced anything like that before. We've had people say, I didn't know jumping jacks was a full body workout. And then they find out really quickly that it can be.
Well, and also they're like, "And I never wanna do that ever again."
I say that every year, but every year I know I'm like, I better start doing them again, because this is about to be a rough week.
You gotta go in and like get the first couple hundred out before anybody else shows up. Get them ahead.
The sad part is we know they don't start until everybody's there. But now that I'm in the front line of the black belts, I tell myself there's only three 100 counts I need to remember. The first one, mine, and the last one. And after that, I just kind of go in my head and pray it all works out.
That sounds beautifully miserable.
Yeah.
It sounds like I want to experience it and don't want to experience it at the same time.
You know, the greatest fear is hoping you don't miss the count. You know, if you're just like, oh no, now you're stuck. Or if you got to 60 and you forgot where you were.
You got to start over. Oh
yeah,
my
and
gosh.
everyone is looking at you at that point, and you're like, oh boy, I'm going to get beat.
Love it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about getting into coaching the professionals.
Yeah. So with the U.S. martial arts team, I've been with them for, I think, a little over 10 to 12 years. You know, I still wear my
brilliant
shirts. One of my students actually got recruited for the team, and I just started working with him around that time. And after some time training, he went to Germany, won some gold medals, came back. They were impressed with his progress from when they saw him. And they said, "Who are you training with?" He mentioned myself. They had asked me if I was interested in coming to try out. I said no. Because just at that time I had retired from competition in like 2004. So I was like, I'm not interested in doing this anymore. But he said, just come try it, see what it's like. I was like, all right. I went to Sarasota, Florida to meet with Kiyoshi Donna Judge at the time. She 6-hour workout that she put us through. It was crazy. I didn't mind it, you know, had a good time. They don't tell you anything right away. About a month or so later, I got a call saying, "Hey, we actually forgot to call you. We really would be interested in you joining the team." And I was like, I don't know. I'll think about it. And when my student was pretty aggressive, he was just like, "Come on, man, it'll be us on the team. I think that'll be fun." I was like, "You're not making this sound any more appealing to me." Okay, I'll give it a shot. And my first World Games that I got to prepare for was actually in Vancouver, Washington. It's the first time I came to Seattle. We spent a week there. We trained. We fellowshipped with all the other members from the States. It was pretty fun. After I competed, I won 2 silver medals my first time, and it gave me the thought of, you know, I can hang at this level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the team, if you don't win gold, you got to try out again. So that was fun. I tried out again, made the team, went to Africa, won gold there, and, you know, have medaled in every game since. And after a period of time, like when I moved out here, they didn't have a coach here. So they asked me if I'd be interested in coaching here. And I said, sure, why not? I was helping out already in Florida, in Orlando. And I said, sure. So now I coach here. One of my athletes had went to the most recent World Games in Norway in November and won. And she brought home gold. I brought home silver. So we had, you know, a good time.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is incredible. What is your secret to being able to continue competition as we get older?
Hate it. I think you
just fueled by hate.
Just, you know, just let the hate flow through you.
Nice.
It's I think for me, because I've never come from a place where I loved competing. I like playing and competing in general, but not in martial arts tournaments. It used to make me nervous. That's why I stopped. I just didn't have the energy to keep up with it at the time. This was more like proving something to myself, and I wanted to go out there and conquer any apprehensions that I had, a fear of performing, and just have fun. Because as much as tournaments don't mean as much to me, I do respect people and their drive to compete. And I have a lot of friends that do it, and they love it. They have a lot of fun. And I was like, I want to get to that point where I'm having fun. And now over the years, I'm getting more comfortable with myself and my ability to care less about winning or losing. And it seems that helps me relax and have a little bit more fun. So, and I don't do too bad anyway. So it's pretty good.
Not doing too bad is good.
Yes.
I hear your words that you choose, which indicates that you're not to the point of having fun yet.
I had fun this go round, right? I had fun this go round. I did get a minor injury on the first day, so that kind of hampered me a little. But I did have fun. It's sometimes it's just the little things in a tournament, like when things run long or
Mhm.
reps disappear or something like that. That's always an inconvenience, but it's not a big deal.
Okay.
I think the more I start to like have fun with it, the more people remember who I am. So now I want to be in places where they don't know who I am. But
Right.
that's about it. Like, I've actually found a lot of fun recently coaching with this local sports team we have called the Seattle Rain. And it's been a lot of fun helping the next generation learn and coaching
Okay.
them and not having to compete. It's a
Right.
different level of stress because I feel like if you see me in your ring, then the expectation is that my athlete's going to win. So then there's a little bit of pressure in that regard. But for me, I'd rather take that pressure and let the kids have none and just let them be themselves. And as long as they're still having a good time and they feel like they're supported, I'm usually pretty happy about
Well, that's good because they're skipping the step that you're trying to overcome by doing that. That's interesting. What has always struck me as, I guess we're going to say interesting, is competition because we're martial artists. So even when we're not competing, I am still competing. I am always competing against myself.
it.
Can
Yes.
I make that front kick better? Can I make that, can I make the kata smoother? Can I make, you know what I'm saying? Like, can I
Sure.
control the breath better? And so, from that standpoint, in my career as a martial artist, I have always looked at competition as another tool to help you progress in and so like my competitive background is not as versed as yours, and I have not competed in quite a long time. But I don't have that desire. I don't have that,
Yeah.
you know.
I think it's tough because when you need something to motivate you in a way to clean up just outside of the normal, I need this to be better.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at kind of like you said, like everything's a competition. So even when I'm hanging out with friends and we're just working out, and I go, I like the way they
Right.
do that. So let me see if I can adapt that a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
most of my friends practice different styles. So some elements of it are like that, or I feel like this feels off on my body. So I need to like let me go actually look at a mirror and check this out. And I like just being in the space of other practitioners that love the art because it
Mm-hmm.
allows me to just take that energy and go, okay, I need to focus on myself a bit. Plus, you always want to put your best foot forward when you're around your people. Like, nope, people who don't like to show off, but still want to show their skill. You want
Mm-hmm.
to make sure it still looks like you're respectable as a martial artist. And a lot of us are self-deprecating. Like I will say that I suck all day long. It doesn't matter if everyone in there I probably beat up at some point. I'll be like, today might be your day, so let's not get that crazy. There's only like very few people that have ever seen me be cocky or arrogant, and that's usually in a joke
Mm-hmm.
fashion because I can't take myself seriously.
And I think that is one of the like mandatory qualities of a good instructor. Because that's what I like. I don't know if you've ever been to Marshall Summit, but what I like best about Whistle Kick and everything that they have done is that no one is better than anybody else. And if you've ever been to any other martial arts event ever in the history of the world, you
Yeah.
know what I mean by that.
Yes. You should ask Jeremy how he met me. See,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, actually, I think it's in the other episode. He
It's
talked.
in the episode. I'll
Yeah, I
check it
think
out.
so because we joked about it a little bit. I am a very like most people make their friends that compete. They make them in competition. I don't.
Hmm.
I drive around wherever I live, and I look for martial arts schools. And if I think they're cool, I'll walk in there and say, "Hey, I just moved here. I just want to learn a little bit about what you do. Would it be okay if I came and did a training? I don't have, I since usually it's not my style. I don't wear my uniform. I just say I'll wear whatever
Hmm.
comfortable clothes you want to wear because I'm not a black belt in anybody else's system. So it would be weird for me to bring
Right.
my black belt. So I just, uh, you know, literally door to door handshake and get to know people, know me through my effort and not through
Hmm.
just my words.
Mm.
And that's how I make those friends.
I love that's that student mentality though, you know?
Mhm.
That's the other thing, and you touched on it earlier, but like, what do you think that you do personally to maintain that?
Mm, I think a lot of it is humility. Um,
Mhm.
I'm such a, martial arts nerd, and I've met Jesse before, so we have lots to talk about when we're around, and it's just one of those, like, martial arts is so exciting, and it's so much to learn. It's always a different perspective and way to look at it, as long as you're open to
Mhm.
new thought process, and it's just fun to analyze and study. So for me to feel like, even at the level that I'm at, to feel like, well, this
Right.
is crazy to me.
That's
Like,
those guys.
and I may be dating myself a little bit because I'm a anime guy too.
Mhm.
Until I learn to fly and shoot energy beams out my hands, I am not that good. so,
Right.
until
But
I
that's
get
all of our aspirations.
right, until I can develop powers from my martial arts training, I still got a long way to go. So I'll take any.
It is funny that you said that exact phrase because earlier today on the Reddit, the martial arts subreddit,
Mm,
somebody literally posed the question, is flying real with Tai Chi?
maybe.
Maybe. Just keep doing it. I suppose you could try.
There were times in my career which there are interesting coincidences
Mhm.
where, at the height of maybe the prime of your training, your senses are pretty acute, so you can do things that normal people can't. And there have been times, even in my career as a massage therapist, I went and learned
Mm.
something called qigong, which is a
Mhm.
form of tai chi, and
Mhm.
their expression of energy movement slightly different than what martial arts is. Martial arts is usually more like a heat based energy
Mhm.
that you get, and this is for almost like a polarity or magnetic base. And as I was learning it, since it's very similar to Tai Chi or martial arts movements, in my mind I go, well, what happens if I can, like, cultivate both energies and put them together? Will I explode? And you start to ponder these
Will
things.
I explode?
Yeah, and the picture on the qigong poster is like a guy, doing one of those, like a Hadouken. I said, so, does this guy
Yeah.
rob banks throwing fireballs or something? Because I think that's pretty cool. Honestly, I would like to learn these abilities. So,
Well, I will say, it was 2004. I was
mm,
in Florida, and
mm,
there was a master who could do no touch chi,
mm.
where he could hit you without touching you. And like I'm like, the
Did it
fuck
work?
you can hit me without touching me. Like that's my in 2004, that's my mentality. He did
Sure.
it. He did. He was able, like, it didn't feel like a topical punch, but the disruption that occurred within my organs and in my gut is the
Yeah,
same as a gut punch,
I would be
you
curious
know?
to experience that. I mean, I'm very
This
much a tactile person, so
well, he did it once and I was like, do it again. Like just immediately do it again.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
the second time he did it, it was hard enough that I almost took a knee, you know?
That's pretty
Like,
cool.
and I mean, 6'5". I'm a big guy. Right. And I've been, at the time I was in martial arts for 21 years at that point in time, like, so yeah, God, that I feel old just talking about it. My back hurts, my hips hurt. Right. Yeah, so interesting. Massage therapist, tell me how massage therapy has helped your art. I
Uh,
usually ask the question of how martial arts has helped with your
yeah.
job, but the reverse is more interesting here.
They both, like, intersect in ways people don't expect. So in massage, two of the main body postures for good mechanics is what they call a longbow stance or a front stance, and a horse riding position, which is a horse stance.
Mm,
So
okay.
very easy for me to maintain my strength in those positions. They have techniques called tremulous vibration to use it, which isn't too hard from us holding our stances and techniques. And so there was a lot of crossover there that I was like, oh, okay, perfect. I got this. With massage, it has helped me on a different level because, one, I understand the needs of a martial arts athlete, practitioner,
Mhm,
and I know how
mhm.
stubborn they are. And getting help and taking care of themselves is, like, super low on the list. It's like I just rub some dirt on it and
Right.
Karate man bleeds on the inside, and we don't want that. So somebody that understands the body and the needs, I want to help people prolong their career. So
Mhm.
I'm there to help those people and nurture that from what I see when I'm watching technique being performed. And I go, okay, like this shoulder is up and this leg, this knee is buckling here. Okay, we need to look at these things a certain way. And if you don't believe me, I'll get on the mat and I'll show you. And there are many people that have already in Orlando, especially, and they were like, "Oh, good, you're here. You got your table." I'm like, "Not yet. I got to fight you first. You got to find out."
I like that.
I have some buddies that are boxers and or boxing instructors. They'll send their athletes to me, and if it's something that's impeding their ability to fight, we'll work on it. And once it's better, I go, "Okay, let's go to the garage and let's go do a round or two and see how you feel." And that's because that's real time. Finding
Mhm.
if you're good or not. Even with this U.S. team, we bring massage therapists with us
Mhm.
because as we're training, we want to still stay in optimal health, and it's good to have somebody there that can take care of us. I did it for a number of years, and now we have somebody else to step up and do it, and it's been great. The knowledge of the anatomy is very good because
Mm.
to start playing different games, and I joke about this all the time that if you are fast with your hands, I'm just going to
Mhm.
punch you in your pec, and it's not going to hurt you. It doesn't hurt. It's just that
Yeah,
you'll
no,
notice
it's
little
just
by
gonna slow.
little, you'll get
Yeah.
slower.
Right,
And they go,
right.
I don't understand why can't you? I'm like, I know why you can't hit me. So I play I call it dirty old man games, you know,
No, that's
and
good.
and I just start cheap shotting people in areas that I know don't hurt, but will cause problems later.
Right.
Chip away and play the game.
Can't see, can't fight. Can't
That's
breathe,
right.
can't fight. Can't move, can't fight. Yeah, no. I
You know,
like all that.
and that also refines like if you want to do throws or something like where exactly you're hitting to create that unbalancing technique where your hip
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
How do you manage your leverage when there's height differences and all that? And usually
Mhm.
I'm usually the shortest fighter when I fight, and
Mhm.
I'm 5'7", so most of the people I fight in the heavyweight are much bigger than me.
Mhm.
I'm used to it, so it's not a big issue. But
Mhm.
I have to give the little people some like this is how you handle this, and this is how you handle these situations, so you're not just getting picked apart from a week away.
Right. From a week away. I've been told that I'm a week tall and a week long.
Anytime it
Six.
takes 3 to 5 business days to hit me, and you're really tall.
I like that. I like that. I'm gonna steal that. So what I think is actually pretty interesting and maybe beneficial for the people that are listening. So the idea behind this podcast is that there's a couple of things. One is that I wanted to start. I am a fuck it, I'll do it myself kind
Yeah,
of person.
yeah,
And I am also if I get an idea and it's something I want to do, I don't do a lot of research to see if it's there. So I thought, hey, I want to do a podcast where I talk to martial artists and I get their perspectives on different things. Is there anything out there? Martial arts podcast. 3 seconds on Google, nothing popped up. There can't be anything because it didn't pop up in 3 seconds.
yes,
Had knew
absolutely.
nothing of whistle kick, nothing of that. And so like part of it is just cataloging the perspectives because that's really what we have, you know? Like we have martial art, but I only have my perspective of the martial art. But then the other thing is like this is a thing, another resource that my students or friends of me, their students have so that they can learn and maybe they pick up one tidbit here, one tidbit there. So your other job
Hmm.
being a massage therapist, that has to help and inform the way that you train, the way that you
Yes,
handle your body, and in some capacity, probably also helps with that longevity of, oh, you're still fighting right now, you're still competing right now.
yes.
Tell us what you've learned from massage therapy. What parts of that practice are you using? How are you putting that to work?
Oh yeah. I've been a massage therapist for 18 years, and for luckily for us, every 2 years you have to gain more experience, have continuing education. So I've picked up a
Mm,
variety of subjects, especially in sports medicine, where I spend a lot of time working with a lot of professional athletes as well, but Mariners and the U.S. National team for soccer and things like that. So you see how these elite athletes perform, prepare, and recover. And I've
Mm-hmm.
taken those elements back with me on how to isolate certain muscles to achieve a certain desired effect, whether it's speed or explosiveness, how to recover properly with proper, and maybe not just static stretching, mobility, warm up exercises, how to manage injuries as they appear, just from the variety of skill sets. Like we have, we've had people on the team that have broken their back. I've had people that have busted their knees, ripped ligaments apart, and help keep them around functional enough to do what they need to do, and help inform them as best as they can. Because sometimes you look at these injuries and they think it's like a death sentence.
That's beast mode. You can help
Yeah,
people get through that. Beast.
I had a recurring joke because, like, after the first World Games, I was so excited. I went right into training like the next day. I was like, "Oh, let's go, let's do this, we need to do this." Like the first week of training, I tore my ACL, and I was like, "Oh no, this is terrible." I had just started working with the soccer teams out there, and I was like freaking out. And I said, "I'll be back in like 2 weeks." That's a lie. That was like 6 weeks. I was back before I could even like stumble around. And
Two
I was,
weeks is a young man's estimate on an
yeah,
ACL.
and it takes a year to fully recover.
Mm-hmm.
And right at that point, right at the end of my recovery was when the next World Games was. And so the whole time I was nervous about, am I going to be ready to go compete? Because I'm not going to be able to go do a tournament. I'm just going literally
Mm-hmm.
from rehab to Africa to go compete. And I was freaking out the whole time. But I was like really diligent about my recovery, taking care of myself and not taking any extra risks.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the World Games, competed, won gold. And I was like, cool. This is cool. Let's not do this again though. Let's not, cause an injury. In 2022, the next World Games of 23, I went to a tournament in Washington, tore my Achilles. And it was just in a match where like the guy was backing up and running away, and I went after him, pop, and it was gone. Another year of recovery. And to be fair, I did rehab all the way up to like 7 months and then went to the World Games. And I was also like freaking out, like, oh God, let's not get hurt again. Went there and I won. And I said, this is a cool little fun little fact that I've won twice off of an injury, but let's not do this again. Let's not get injured now between now and the next one. This one, I did not get injured, thankfully. I mean, I got injured there,
Thankfully.
but I didn't, But it's been really good to help me alter my trainings, even with my
Mm-hmm.
students. Like if I need them, today is like a mechanical day on improving kicking, technique, speed, focus, whatever. I can arrange my class a certain way to take advantage of the exercises I learned as a massage therapist, the stretches that I've learned, how to position their body better, how to generate force correctly, because we all learned it however our instructors taught it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they had the same knowledge that I had going into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now I have like more sports medicine science to back it up, everything I'm saying. And so
Absolutely.
that helps build a better martial arts practitioner.
Do you think that you performed better or worse having, let's see, you know what I'm saying? You came out of those injuries
Yeah.
and you had a good recovery time, and I'm sure you were practicing,
Yes.
like, but you weren't running circuits. You weren't doing tournament circuits.
Yeah.
And I think that I've seen some people overcompete, and the over competition was their downfall. And
Yeah.
as an older man, I say
Yeah.
that I'm only 42, but it's fine. But like as the senior student in the class, so to speak,
Yeah.
saying to the 20-year-olds, you can calm down. You can
Yes.
do a little less. And they're like, the fuck I can, like, do you think that you performed better because of the rest?
I think so. In regards to that, injuries really do an excellent job of clearing out what's not important to you. You don't have time to worry about any of the things you were doing prior, and it's
Mm-hmm.
only your recovery. And in my case, like my recovery and my going to this competition were the only two things on my mind for the entire year. So I
Mm-hmm.
had nothing else to do but focus on that. And that's great. Like I don't compete at a lot of tournaments anyway, maybe 1 to 2 a year.
Okay.
because I don't care that much. But like, I think it's fun to do when it's around.
Says the guy that's on and
Yeah,
working
yeah.
with the pros.
But and all of those guys compete way more than I do, and they know that, and that's fine because I see them at their dojo and we train. And so, if there was an issue, and that's also like a weird way that I keep track of my progress is that if I train with people who compete often and they feel like we're still at a comparable level,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm
Mm-hmm.
not particularly concerned about going to compete all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I
Right.
know I probably could improve even more by competing, but I also know that I'm doing pretty good
But
without having to do it as often.
you can compete, you can improve at competition.
Yes,
That doesn't necessarily mean that you're improving as an artist,
very true. Very
you
true.
know?
And I think it's a tough thing for people to separate because, and I talked with my instructor about this because we have athletes or students that prefer mostly competition. And I go, that's great, but don't forget the art itself.
Yes.
Like what goes on at the tournament is not a reflection of you as a complete martial artist. It just means that
Mm-hmm.
you can adapt and play the game, which a martial artist should be able to do. It should be able
Mm-hmm.
to play this. Like for me, my silver medal came from a division I never competed in, which was weapons. I did
Mm.
Kabuto weapons, and I did a weapon that's the least popular weapon ever in friggin' Tonfa.
Mm.
And it's because I like it. And I didn't
Right.
care if I was going to win, but I just wanted to put it out there as a weapon that I enjoy. And I
Mm-hmm.
spent a year practicing, like just straight doing that, just because I wanted to have that opportunity to showcase that weapon in that time.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And
that's
yeah,
pretty silver with a tonfa is nothing to shake a stick at because
yeah,
nobody.
yeah, that's with injured, with the first time, all that, and then I'm not complaining. I thought it was pretty cool to do that because I definitely heard from people saying you're not going to place at all with that weapon because it's like an exercise weapon. And I said, you may not know the weapon then. So,
An exercise weapon is an interesting choice of words there.
agreed. I was like, a bow could be an exercise weapon. It looks like a mop. So, you could say the same. But, in an era where everything becomes the same, there's a million people with oars. There's
Mm-hmm.
a million people who
Mm-hmm.
used to use comma,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's hard to I think you need to give love to all elements of the art. So you need really
Mm-hmm.
good judges in that regard. So maybe katas that aren't used more as often should be popularized if you can do them well. And
Mm-hmm.
and that was my thing. I did katas from my system that aren't like aren't performed on a regular basis. And now we start to see a little shift. And it's kind of cool to see, but also kind of annoying to see because now I can't like get away with being like, I'm the only one that does this. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I think as it continues to grow, like sport karate, you have to look at what it is as a sports athlete versus
Mm-hmm.
what it isn't as a martial artist. But
Mm.
but there's crossover.
Mm.
There's crossover because you learn timing and distance and speed and reaction and handling yourself under pressure. All of those things are very valid. You get camaraderie and friendship from people that you're competing with. You learn to motivate yourself with these rivalries. You can gain benefits. Like for me, I get to see the world, go in places I never would have imagined. Never thought in my life I'd be in Africa or Germany or Norway or any of these places that we've been. But it gives you a nice little way to focus on using your gifts and your training to put you in places that you can see different perspectives.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to uh, a practitioner that's listening to this that's thinking about competing, but they haven't yet?
I think I would ask why you want to compete. And, don't be afraid of what your actual answer is. If you just want to see it and test yourself, or, you want to have an experience for the first time, because I do think everyone should experience it at least once in their life. That way
Mm-hmm.
you can have a fully informed idea of whether you like something or don't. Maybe twice, because, you get a hold of it the second go round. And once you are putting yourself in the mindset of wanting to compete, go watch the tournaments. Go watch a
Mm-hmm.
few. See how it plays out, how it looks. You might see divisions that you want to compete in or don't. Some people might start with just one division, but I mean, you can do whatever you want at that point. And then if you can, speak to some of the competitors afterwards and pick their brains about how they feel and what it takes for them to get out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately you can come back to your instructor and say, hey, this is what I want to do. Can you help me with this? And if they cannot, There's always people who will help you with that.
That's right. There's always another instructor.
Right. And it doesn't mean leave your instructor. It just means you
Right.
might need a coach. You might need somebody to help you get in a frame of mind, presence, physical state that you want to be to perform,
Hmm.
and then pursue it.
I agree with that. I would like to also add that even though competing is not the totality of a martial arts practice,
Yes.
it is prevalent enough that most everybody should do it.
I
You know,
agree.
like do it twice, do it 3 times. Get up there and fumble over a form with what you feel like is a million eyes on you and really is 12. You
Yeah.
know, and the point sparring and all, do it all because it's part of the experience in this world that we love so much.
Oh yeah. I find
Yeah.
that as I've gotten older and more experienced in arts, the questions that I ask myself are vastly different because nobody's always 100% honest with themselves.
Oh,
And because
yes.
they're usually afraid of those answers. Like when I was young, I used to think, for example, Taekwondo was bullshit. And
Mm-hmm.
knew a lot of terrible Taekwondo practitioners. But then I
Mm-hmm.
met some really good ones. And I said, okay, Taekwondo isn't complete bullshit. But I left myself open to meeting those people in that space and not completely blocking off. I have some friends who think point fighting is bullshit. And they go, "That's just a bunch of people flipping their leg up." And I go, "Is it bullshit or can you not defend against it?" I said, "Because I don't like point fighting, but I can fight
Mm-hmm.
against it because
Right.
I went and put myself in the lion's den of people who did it and said, okay,
Mm-hmm.
beat me up. So let me learn so I can figure out how do I implement my art against something
Mm-hmm.
like this? Or what do I
Mm-hmm.
have to do to adapt to something like this? It may not be I need to kick a million times, and maybe it's just my footwork and speed have to be different. If I can't hit you, then I need to learn from you.
Absolutely.
So, so like the tournaments are good in that regard of how to manage your pressure. If you can't deal with it, it's not that everything sucks. It's just maybe you need to change how you do things
Mm-hmm.
to meet that challenge in that regard.
No, absolutely. So, are you okay if we go a little longer than an hour?
Yeah, yeah, fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Tell me about what yielding properties exist in your art. I will preface it by saying I am doing a current study on yielding with the intention of boiling yielding down in a capacity so that I could teach it to students in a quicker time frame. Because yielding is usually something that us martial arts practitioners learn year 4 through 12 type of a situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I want yielding to be at a forefront of curriculum because I feel like it is the biggest that I can give any of my non-violent students to help them as much as they can be helped to control the violence, you know?
Yeah.
So I've been doing a bunch of things. One of the things that I did is I don't say the word relax any longer
Yeah.
because, well, you're standing up, so muscles are engaged, so you're not
Yeah.
relaxed. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like we have terminology free to flow is what
Mm.
is now being used.
Yeah.
And just the idea is continue flow, continue move. But the question to you is your systems yielding, how does it handle it? How does it teach it? How does it package it?
And I do blend in and out of some of the massage like terminologies
Sure, sure.
but like in Goju-ryu and we have our kaki-uke, our sticky hands, which is
Mm-hmm.
a great way when we start to implement that is just to feel and
Mm-hmm.
impressions. Because if you can feel with touch, we start to expand the distance away from each other, we can feel through intent. And we can use
Mm.
that to redirect and shift energy. So we spend a lot of time of if you feel this pressure this way, turn. And do you still feel this pressure or do you feel free? And you want to start to replicate feelings because if you can replicate a feeling, you can replicate a technique if you know
Mm-hmm.
how it felt when it felt correct. I also don't tell people to relax anymore. It's a part of our meditative states at times where it's just like taking deep breaths. And as you exhale, you allow your body to sink and
Mm.
not hold any weight any longer. when we're getting deeper into it, because I used to do more meditative in the beginning, and then in the beginning, when you're meditating, it's just focus on your breathing. And as you expand and exhale, inhale and exhale, you're picturing a ball growing. And
Mm-hmm.
in every breath, it gets bigger until it encompasses your whole body. Then it's about visualizing you performing the perfect technique, the perfect front kick, the perfect punch, because I want you to have this in your mind before we get started, because that's what you're going to be trying to match.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gets them motivated and psyched and like really interested in things. And usually the thing about not dying comes in when we're doing like drills. And I said, I want you guys to continue without me. I'm not going to say stop, but we're going to continue, and you're to keep going until you feel like you're in a position where you can disengage. And for me, it's when you're in a position of control or opportunity and the other person is not. So if, somebody throws a front kick and I step to the side and I can hit them, but they can't turn around in time, if I decide to disengage at that time, that's good. Otherwise, continue.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see people entangle themselves until they get that right angle.
Mm-hmm.
And either they'll hit and continue, or they'll step back and I go, okay, that was good. But we do like our flows, and we do like to have our sticky hands and just
Mm-hmm.
feeling these vibes of recognizing that conflict ends when your attacker or aggressor is no longer able to continue.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to make sure that you're in your best possible position for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been pretty successful at getting people to be present in the activities that we're doing.
No, I like that. That's really helpful. I always ask these questions and then I
Mhm.
replay them and I take notes and I add it into my stuff. I'm just a thief. Just a
Feel
thief.
free. There's nothing new under the sun, as they say, right?
Yeah. Like
We got your hands and
you're
feet.
just saying something the way that you've perceived something that somebody else gave you. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's it. So that conversation started with Sistema. Are you familiar with Sistema at all?
Yes. I mean, like off and on. I've known some people and I've watched some videos, and you see good videos and you see bad videos.
Yeah, like everything else. And you know that they're bad videos because on the internet, people only comment nasty comments on bad videos. So that's how you know.
Yes.
Okay. So, well, we were talking about a Sistema punch. And
Mm.
this is very interesting. But like if we think about a martial arts punch, a martial artist would create this fist and then go forward with it. And Sistema as an art found that action is binding energy up
Mm.
and is a waste. And
Yeah.
so all of their punches, they reach for them. So the fingers and the hands and the making of the fist
Yeah.
is drawing you forward into the punch. And I thought that was such a fascinating idea of how to like,
I would hazard that that's not a new idea, because if you look at boxers,
no, not a new idea.
boxers don't
Definitely
keep
not.
they keep their hands partially
Mhm.
until they connect. And
Mhm.
so you have that perspective, which is pretty similar.
Mhm.
But I do appreciate that avenue of kind of
Mhm.
pulling into it almost, and
Reach.
generating even more acceleration through.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I would not say that it was a new idea.
Yeah.
System is an interesting art to me because of like
Yeah.
historically how that it was made.
Yes.
Like Sistema is not a Krav Maga. Krav Maga is technique that is written based on people and based on that culture. Sistema doesn't have the culture aspect because
Yeah.
the Russian government hired a bunch of people and they all
Mhm.
came together and picked and choosed. So
Mm.
they made a martial arts buffet.
Yeah.
It's interesting. What is one technique, philosophy, piece of advice, concept that if you could give every martial arts practitioner in the world, you would give it to them?
I find that I've repeated this particular sentence very often over the last 6 months, and
Okay.
it is: martial arts does not give you character; it reveals it.
Ooh.
And because I've known many people who are skilled and assholes, and you just now have a certain skill. It's like anything. You can pursue enlightenment through any activity,
Mm-hmm.
And so you will learn stuff about you, just like I do often say, you learn a lot about yourself punching and kicking air.
Mm,
But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to guarantee you become a better person. You just might be really good at this thing and you're a shitty human being. So when you're pursuing things like this, you pursue it in earnest and you strive to better not only yourself, but your physical ability, and hopefully it provides you perspective. Perspective is probably one of the biggest things in martial arts that everyone needs, and always needs to keep it at the forefront of things. One of my close friends out here in Washington is a buddy named CJ Mayo. He teaches Okinawan Shorin, and we tease
mm,
each other all day about, like, this derivative art over here and this derivative art over there. But we pretty much see things the same way when it comes to technique, application, perspective. We
mm-hmm.
work with other martial arts schools sometimes when they're doing self-defense, and they'll ask us, like, okay, well, we do it this way. How do you see this attack from your system? Everybody has their own lens.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my lens makes more sense. Sometimes his lens makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And okay. And I think that's a beautiful thing, to have a lens to view the world, but also be open to looking at it through another lens.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. I have said it's very similar to, I have said always that in martial arts, the only two things that we really have are perspective and then intent. So like I can control and I can set my intent, and that dictates my practice or my movements.
Mhm.
But my perspective is what's being shown through those movements. So that's good.
Absolutely. Yeah, like last October, yeah, they have something called the 100 Kata Challenge. That's in Okinawa. It celebrates the history of karate. So what typically one would do is get a group of people or yourself, find a place, and you practice one kata 100 times. Sounds like difficult, but not
When's
difficult.
this? When's
It's
this?
October 25th every year. I did one. I did it. I've been doing it for the last 5 years, and it is such a mental mind fuck in
Right.
in doing it. But like, the reasons, you think about it, when I'm going to do this kata. Why are you going to do this 100 times? You know that kata, so you know what the ups and downs of that kata. So you have to be 1,000% sure that you're okay with doing this 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
I picked katas one year because it was short and I can get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I picked katas that, like, when I came off of my ACL, I wanted to challenge it. So I did that kata, like,
Okay.
like in Goju, we did a kata kokodonfa. If you're not familiar, the first two parts are in like a deep cat stance, and you have to do a side
Mm-hmm.
kick from the side. So I knew I was going to put a lot of pressure on my knee.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to challenge it. Another year, I'll say this year I picked one that is not common, and it was challenging enough that I was like, I'm going to be here all day and doing this. And one day I will do our highest kata, our super empe, but that kata is really long. And doing that 100 times sounds like I'm never leaving the house ever again. So
How
that's
long? How long is one?
probably a little over 2.5 minutes.
Mm.
I'll be there for quite a long time. Plus, it's repetitive, it's lengthy. I got a job. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And so you pick them based on what you think that makes sense. But this year, because of the World Games, I was like, give me something to focus on. So
Mm-hmm.
for the month of October, every day I did 5 katas, consecutively.
Mm-hmm.
So that it would tally up to 100. And then on the day, I would pick the one kata and do the 100. And it was such a
Okay.
great experience for me, because I would do it some at work, I would do it at lunchtime, I do it after work. Didn't matter. I just had to get them done every
Mm-hmm.
day. It forced me to, no matter what I was doing, I had to get it done.
That's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
There was a social media thing that went around that was for photographers,
Mm,
where they pick something and post one photograph representing the thing
yeah.
in 100 different ways for 100 days. It was a 100-day challenge.
That would be cool.
And so like I had some photographer friends, and I was like, hey, I could do this with martial arts, right? And they're like, you could try. So then it became 100 days of me like, you know,
Yeah.
how many different ways can I display my kung fu and do
Yeah.
that? Yeah, it's an interesting exercise on creativity.
Absolutely. And
So
I would be remiss if any martial artist ever didn't like try to apply their martial art in day-to-day living. Like, let me reach for this technique over here, let me reach for this plate or down here and kick the fridge and, do all of those things all day long. I mean, there are days I'm in the shower doing kata and and I'm like, I should get out the shower because I'm getting cold. But it's just one of those things where it's kind of fun. Like I watch action movies differently now than when before I
Mhm.
did martial arts. Before it was like that looks crazy. Then I got into the phase of, I mean, that isn't really how that's going to work. Now I just go, this is fun. This is all fun.
Right.
Look how
My
cool it
first instructor, may he rest in peace, Mike Whiting, he had a saying that he would say, I'm not a very good martial artist, but I've not had to close a door with my hands 30 years.
Hey, it's so true. You know, uh, there were so many things that like always amused me. I went to a pizza shop once in New York, and it was like an Israeli guy that was running it. But I walked in and it's like, hey, let me get a slice, and we're just sitting there, and I'm just looking around, and he looks at me, he goes, "You do martial arts?" And I was like, "Yeah." You want to come over to a dojo later? Okay. You're like Highlander. All of a sudden, you
That's
can sense
awesome.
each other out. Most martial artists aren't looking for a fight, so
Right.
they they know what it takes to be violent, so they're not so eager to go look for it. And I think that
Absolutely.
that's like such a fun part of martial artists. Like we all size each other up unintentionally. We meet
Mhm.
somebody, hey, how's it going? To just a firm handshake, test the distance in which we're communicating. It's all a bunch of. It's weird our world how it is, but like there's so many signals that are being sent back and forth that to feel people out. And it's kind of cool. It's like a video game or something or anime. So you just, it's really fun sometimes.
Absolutely. Most of the time, not
Yeah, most of the
sometimes, most of the time. Most of the time. Okay. Do you want to tell the people how they can find you if you would like to be found? Even?
No. um, nobody should find me. Well, like I said, I have my website, www.thelonewolfdojo.com is a fast way to get to me. I probably should update it more. I also, for massage related things, I have massagepromed.com. Being a part of the US martial arts team is our website for the team because we always are recruiting for more athletes. usmateam.org, I believe it is. Let me actually double check that before I get in trouble because I'm sure one of my coaches will be looking at me and like going, "How dare you?" Yes, usmat.org is our website. I don't want to hear about this later. Yeah, and we have representatives in most of the United States, so there's coaches everywhere. And that's always I think being a part of that team has been I've made some great friendships. I've made great friends across all countries. I always joke with my son that it's always cool to know that you've punched somebody in the face in every country you go. It's,
Right. That is cool. Cool
like
brag.
everywhere I go, somebody's been like, that hurt. It makes me feel good.
That's good.
Yes. But yeah, no, those are the best ways to get a hold of me.
Mhm.
And even though I take students still out here, I'm very much one of the biggest things I tell people is I'm never going to chase a student. So if you want to learn from me, you reach out. I will always say yes.
Mhm.
You just got to come. You got to kind of reach out to me so I know that it's still something you want to do and not something you're showing up to do.
Mhm.
So
That's great.
yeah.
Is there anything you didn't get a chance to say that you'd like to say? We covered a lot.
My instructor, Armando Colburn, is probably one of the single greatest men I've ever met in my life. And he's the reason why I do all of this. Every time I go to the World Games, I come back with my medals. I usually give it to him because I tell him every single time, I wouldn't be here without you. He will never accept that because he's just a nice good guy. But if I never started my journey with him, I would never get to wherever I am now. And I'm always going to be eternally grateful to him. So I always shout him out as best as I can. And I always just try to like uphold the legacy. My goal in martial arts was never to be a champion. It was just to be as respectable of a martial artist from a character perspective as he was. Every time he went somewhere and I saw the love that was shown to him by martial artists and people, and I would go, that's what I want one day to be like. So that's the example I follow.
Sounds like a wonderful example to follow. Maybe link me with him and see if we can get him on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I'd love
for
to
sure.
do that. So I always thank everybody for sitting down for your time. I know time's very precious and I thank you for that. I also thank everybody for now, because you've had this conversation with me. You're part of my martial arts journey, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely.
I thank you for that as well.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank everybody that took the time to watch this or listen to this. And as always, everybody, keep kicking.
Yes.